Tyron Woodley isn't ready to separate Islam Makhachev's name from his legendary mentor, and that's causing serious debate in the MMA community. Makhachev's dominant win over Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322 to claim a second belt has many putting him in the greatest of all time conversation. However, former UFC welterweight champion Woodley still sees Makhachev living in the shadow of Khabib Nurmagomedov. "He's still in the shadow of Khabib," Woodley said in an interview. "When I hear Islam, I can't think of Islam by himself. When I hear the word Islam, I think of Khabib. First thing you say is Khabib's prodigy. That's all I'm thinking of, even now." Woodley makes an interesting point about name recognition and legacy. Khabib retired as an undefeated champion with global superstar status. His name transcends MMA in ways few fighters ever achieve. Makhachev, despite incredible accomplishments, still gets introduced as Khabib's student first. Woodley continued his critique by pointing out specific gaps in Makhachev's resume. "He didn't beat me for a welterweight championship. He didn't beat Georges St-Pierre. No disrespect to the guy, but he's still fairly unknown internationally as a fighter." That's a harsh assessment considering Makhachev's dominance, but Woodley's argument focuses on mainstream recognition rather than pure fighting ability. Khabib was a household name who crossed over into mainstream sports consciousness. Makhachev, despite being arguably more accomplished, hasn't reached that level yet. Woodley also downplayed the Della Maddalena victory, noting it was the Australian's first title defense and a style made in heaven for Islam's grappling-heavy approach. "I feel like he's still in the shadows of Khabib," Woodley concluded. Here's where the argument gets complicated. Unlike Nurmagomedov, Makhachev has won UFC titles in 2 divisions. That's something Khabib never accomplished. Lightweight and welterweight gold means Makhachev has proven himself across weight classes. Makhachev also broke Nurmagomedov's record for most title defenses in UFC lightweight history when he notched his 4th at UFC 311 in January. That's a massive accomplishment that directly surpasses his mentor's achievements. So Makhachev's resume actually exceeds Khabib's in measurable ways. 2 division champion versus 1, 4 title defenses versus 3. The numbers favor Islam clearly. But Woodley's point isn't really about accomplishments, it's about perception and legacy. Khabib captured the world's imagination in ways that transcended statistics. His rivalry with Conor McGregor, his undefeated retirement, his father's influence, all created a narrative that resonated globally. Makhachev fights with similar dominance, but hasn't had that breakthrough moment that makes casual fans take notice. He hasn't had his Conor McGregor rivalry. He hasn't had that viral post-fight moment that goes beyond the MMA bubble. The mentor-student dynamic also complicates things. Khabib corners Islam for every fight, providing coaching and strategy. That visible presence reinforces the connection between them, making it harder for Makhachev to establish complete independence. It's similar to how people once viewed Georges St-Pierre in relation to his coaches, or how John Jones gets associated with Greg Jackson. Great fighters often remain connected to their teams, but eventually their own legacy becomes primary. Makhachev's 28-1 record with 17-1 inside the UFC shows incredible consistency. Only 1 loss his entire career, and that came early before he fully developed into the fighter he is today. His recent run through the lightweight division has been absolutely brutal for opponents. Submission victories, knockout wins, dominant decisions. He's shown every tool in the toolbox while making elite competition look ordinary. The welterweight title win over Della Maddalena proved Makhachev can compete successfully at higher weight classes. Moving up and dominating a naturally bigger fighter shows his skill set translates across divisions. But Woodley's critique about mainstream recognition holds some truth. Ask casual sports fans who Khabib is, and most know. Ask about Islam Makhachev, and far fewer recognize the name, despite superior accomplishments. That gap between achievement and recognition frustrates hardcore MMA fans who appreciate Makhachev's technical brilliance. They see a fighter who's potentially even better than Khabib, yet doesn't get the same respect or attention. The greatest of all time conversation requires both dominance and cultural impact. Makhachev has the dominance covered. Whether he ever achieves Khabib's level of cultural impact remains the big question. Woodley's comments will fuel debate about legacy versus accomplishment, name recognition versus actual skill, and whether being associated with greatness diminishes or enhances a fighter's own standing. For now, Makhachev continues winning and breaking records. Eventually, his own legacy may eclipse the mentor he helped create it. But that day, apparently, hasn't arrived yet in Tyron Woodley's eyes.